Hello everybody, it's Rose here. Hello and welcome to Butterfly Soul. These are your weekly tarot messages for Monday the 14th of May through to Sunday the 20th of May 2018. And as always, I hope you are all well and doing okay in your journey, whatever is happening for you right now. This week, the reading feels like it's still a week of sorting and sifting, and I get a very reflective energy again this week. So it seems as though we've still got some more learning to do. And there's a sense of, as we're moving forward into the new, maybe this week observing and learning how it is, where we need to now channel and focus our energy. Perhaps with new goals, or we're just feeling like we're shifting into something new. So it feels like almost like a bit of a learning curve this week, and observing in order to learn and grow. So the first element, I will move on to the reading, as always in my elemental spread, is the spiritual element. So first of all, we've got the Ten of Wands here, and the thing that I'm really being drawn to are those wands on his back. And it can be, this card can be about carrying burdens, but we're about to lift those burdens, so I will add that in. As this is the spiritual section of the reading, I get the sense of us kind of really carrying a load at the moment, or we might feel as though we're walking through something heavy, or something is almost bearing down on us, and we might be so focused on that burden right now, so very much I guess in an earth plane way, or our energy might feel a little bit heavy at the moment. What I'm really being drawn to though is, if you can see them, is the deer in the background here. And you can see that the figure in the card looks so focused on the burden that he's carrying. It's almost like, I want to say, he's forgetting to take time to stop and smell the roses and rest and reflect. And in a spiritual sense, I feel these deer, it's almost like they might be messages from the universe or synchronicities, that if we stay so focused on the weight that we're carrying, we're going to just walk past them and miss them. So I get the sense, in sort of spiritual terms this week, we need to, I feel, be mindful of really taking time to, I'm getting the words, reflect and connect. Maybe even to go out in nature and just observe what messages we get, what animals do we see, are we getting things showing up in our lives time and time again. But I feel with this, the challenge is it's making the time to notice those messages and those synchronicities. So as I say, the message I feel is, be mindful to take time to rest, reflect and observe actually what's coming in. The next element is water, and it is the emotional element of the spread, and where we may be emotionally. So this is the Five of Wands this week. As you can see, the card itself depicts a battle. And it's almost, I often see these as a team, kind of almost like a civil war turning against each other. I see fives as choice points, because if you think about them in the middle of the 1 to 10 of the minor arcana cycle, these are right in the middle. So I always feel like the fives are a double-edged sword, and we've got a choice about how we want to proceed. There may be either inner struggles going on or outer struggles emotionally, that are evoking these sort of possible intense emotions this week. I'm also being given the message that if we seem to be prodded or triggered by outside forces this week, is this really kind of a signal that we need to take notice, reflect, see what's going on, and to actually work with those emotions or those frustrations that are actually coming through. I'm also observing, I'll just sort of pick the card up to the camera, the front two figures there. What is really drawing me in with this card is, one appears to be aiming the wand at the other fellow's heart, and also the fellow that's getting the wand in the heart is wearing green. So I'm being very much reminded of heart energy. I don't know whether for some of us this week, there may be a call to open our hearts to something or someone, but we might feel as though that's difficult because we're afraid of getting hurt. You can see the vulnerability here. He's completely open there, and his heart is exposed there. Is there something for some of us about needing to take a risk that involves opening our heart, being in our vulnerability, showing who we really are? So for some of us, that may be part of the challenge this week. A possible heartfelt risk is the phrase that I got with that. So the next element is fire. So the way I read this is about our energy. Where's our energy at? So I've already kind of covered here that there may be a sense of heavy energy around us, but the trick with it is to take time to not put our whole focus on this. And I'm sort of getting a similar feeling with the Devil card here. First thing that drew me in were the flames here with the Devil and how it looks as though it's absolutely being consumed. And one of the messages with the Devil card in tarot is about how we're using our energy. Sometimes the Devil is depicted as a reflection of the Magician, and the Magician uses his energy wisely. He draws it from the universe and he pulls it down to help others. The Devil is often shown in opposition with his hands opposed and not caring what he's doing with that energy. So I think we need to be mindful this week of where we're focusing and channeling our energy. I don't know what this might mean for you guys, but I'm being given, is our own energy working for us or is it working against us? And I'm not quite sure until we start walking through the week exactly what that might mean for some of us at the moment. How are we channeling that energy, for us or against us? And of course the Devil is always a signal to wake up and become conscious. So there may be things affecting our energy that we are just becoming conscious of or aware of. And I think, again, it's going back to that reflective and pondering energy of it's not really about action this week. It's about reflecting and pondering and letting things wash through us and rinse through us. So we may become aware of something in our lives or someone in our lives or something where we suddenly discover, have the recognition that we are perhaps not channeling, maybe not channeling our energy in a positive way, but are we also wasting our energy by focusing it in that direction? Okay, so I hope that makes sense. The feeling of being consumed, again, I get that sense of that fire energy with it. I almost want to give the message of not to consume ourselves. I'm finding this one very tricky this week. It's not to consume ourselves. I mean, the Devil, for example, can be about our ego or our shadow. It's to not allow negative energy to consume us, whether it's coming from us or whether it's coming from an outside source or seemingly from an outside source. It's I feel we need some strength this week to not allow that energy to consume us. So I hope that makes sense. So the next card in the reading is the Three of Swords, and this is in the earth element. And it was at this point during the review that I noticed there weren't very many earthy cards actually in here this week. The Devil is earth, the Devil is Capricorn, but he's the only one. So a lot of this week doesn't feel as though it's, like I say, practical or doing. It's more feeling, thinking, energy. It's that kind of week, I think, and it's shifting energy through. So the Three of Swords, it's in the earth element, so in the practical element. So this card can often be a reminder to come out of our heads and have our feelings. And because we're in the earth element, the bit I'm picking up on really is about what's going on in our bodies. To kind of get into our bodies, is there any emotion in there? Are we feeling any aches and pains? So we might be getting messages in our bodies this week suggesting, oh, we need to clear this. Again, the reflection and the observing. We've got a pain in our knee. Oh, what's that all about? Is there a fear of walking forward? We may be feeling emotional in some way. Do we need to release that? So I feel this card is speaking to the body and the feelings perhaps in the body that we have been avoiding or been unconscious, unaware of. So again, it's sitting down, it's reflecting, it's being with that, it's honouring, I feel, and going with the flow of whatever messages and signals our body is telling us. And as I say, this may be emotional, it may be a recurring something that we have over and over again within our body. So again, a suggestion to be mindful of that, and I feel to ask the body what it needs. It might need more water, it might need to be out in nature more. So to honour, to listen to the body and follow what it needs, I think is the sense with that. So the final card is the air element, and we have a cup in that, which again is normally emotional. Kings are the masters of their suits. Now, what I'm really drawn to, I'm drawn to a couple of things. I keep being drawn, although it's a decoration on the throne. Let's just try and get that so it's nice and straight for you. That red shiny embellishment on the throne is sitting right on the king's crown there. So the air element can be around our mind, okay? So, and I'm being drawn straight to the mind, to the crown there. So whether this can be, as I'm saying it now, I'm getting the sense of a spiritual kind of connection to it, because he's emotional. Again, I feel it's another clue to remind us to come out of the head back into, I'm not going to just say emotions, but feelings. They could be intuitions that we are now getting because we've cleared the way a little bit. They could be certain feelings, again, emotions that we're getting in the body. He's a reminder to be in our hearts, I feel, rather than our heads this week. I get a sense with him as well, because I'm really drawn there. Although he's not a pentacle, so he's not strictly of the earth. I get a sense there that grounding, you can see his feet there, grounding is key this week. Because often when we're in our heads and we're projecting, we're not grounded, so we're floating off into the ether. The other thing that struck me, that is really leaping out at me, you can see, again, the planet Saturn there, right at the top. And what I've decided to do this week is just defer to my copy of the Astrology Bible. And I'm just going to read out some keywords and take that as part of the reading. So, Saturn, known as the way shower, and his keywords are limitation, control, consolidation, structure, boundaries, thrift, conservation, strength, discipline, direction, wisdom, resilience, karma, the shadow, self-condemnation, time, fear, denial, hardship, responsibility, and mentor. Okay, so it all sounds, when we read about Saturn, it does sound a little bit heavy again. Again, I get this sense of heaviness here. But it almost feels like stuff that can't be avoided. And as I often say, this leads to, by sifting through, this leads to our liberation and our growth, okay? Again, with the restriction element of it, I felt like I wanted to go back to that devil card about that consuming. Are we being restricted in some way? What are we becoming conscious of? So it's kind of, in the air element, it's kind of right to feel that I need to be sort of in the head area and up with Saturn there a little bit. But I just feel that this, although as I say it's really an embellishment on the throne, I'm noticing the connection to the crown. So I just feel there's something about maybe our crown's feeling more connected, or how can we get beyond the limitations of the mind, again limitation to do with Saturn, and really get back to our connection to source again, where everything flows and where everything generates from. Okay, so the overview card for this week is the King of Swords. Okay, so again, another master of the suit. Now, what he really looks like to me is as though he is pondering and reflecting. He's looking out into the distance there. He's above it all. He's floating in the air because his element is air, but it's like he's rising above it all. He's observing, he's looking at the scene. The King of Swords is very intellectual and intelligent, so I almost feel that whatever we experience this week is going to be dealt with in a very intellectual and intelligent way. And also it might be a message to not overanalyze. So if we reverse him too much, to not overanalyze too much, because there's a lot of stuff in here about feelings within the body, a risk from the heart, how are we feeling energetically, grounding, feeling those feelings, even though it might feel a bit heavy. Again, a risk is to feel, is to be in the body and feel those feelings. That can feel like a risk as well. But the more we can do that now and get grounded and feel, the more we can connect with ourselves. I'm being told the quicker it's going to shift. I almost feel like I want to apologise when I feel that there's stuff coming up that I feel can no longer be resisted and ignored, and that is the best way I can phrase it. So I'm going to send out lots of love to you all. It does look like a bit of a tricky week. Now, as I often say, this is a general reading, so it may not apply to all of us. Certain parts of it might apply, but others not. So particularly if you're in those realms of feeling that things are a little bit heavy, or stuff is coming up that requires a shift, be with it. You're a master. Be with it. Okay, so lots of love to you all. Blessings and light, and I will see you next week. Thank you for watching. Bye now.